Everybody's constantly asking the question, what type of karate is best? And here's the answer.
Perfect.
What you're about to listen to is an interview between myself and Jesse Enkamp, the karate nerd. Jesse and I went on live on Instagram for about an hour and we talked about tons and tons of karate stuff. So over the next couple of weeks, you're gonna see a lot of content broken down into bits and pieces, disposable at your little karate fingertips. So sit back, enjoy. So you're a karate nerd. Is there other forms of martial arts that you are super into right now? I feel like I know the answer, but I want to just check and be sure.
Okay, can I hear what you think the answer is?
I mean, I feel like you've been a little bit into Kung Fu as a research as of recent, but I mean, I feel like I have kind of obvious reason to believe that, but I may be wrong.
So what do you think about MMA? Do you think I'm into MMA?
I would imagine that you have to be at least a little bit into it.
Look, if I've been in my brother's corner in his UFC fights and his Bellator fights, it would be strange if I wasn't into MMA.
Right.
And you gotta understand that when I started karate, my favorite thing was fighting. It's always been fighting. I never really liked karate for the sake of karate, but for fighting.
Yeah.
No.
Sure.
And we just happened to call it karate, but to me it was just fighting.
Sure.
I just love to freaking fight, and I love to win even more, right?
Right.
Because I'm a competitive person.
Yeah, right.
But
Winning's awesome.
And in many ways, I've always seen karate as the original MMA, because looking back at history, on the island of Okinawa, these different sources came and kind of got mixed. And these local martial arts masters or karate teachers kind of took what worked and discarded what didn't work, kind of that whole Bruce Lee philosophy. Sure. And the end result was something that we today refer to as karate. But of course, the main source was the Chinese stuff, which is what you referred to, which is why I went to China last year and I didn't get corona there, trust me, just to research the roots of the art. So in some ways, yeah, you're right. But yeah, I mean, I've always practiced all kinds of martial arts, not necessarily to get better at those martial arts, but to see what I could learn and bring back to my art. And we've always been very open about that in our school because it's a martial arts center. We got like a dozen different martial arts. Sure. So from a very young age, I was exposed to a wide variety of martial arts, which gave me a great appreciation for how we're all connected. And even though I call myself the karate nerd because that's my chosen path, I love learning from all arts because at the top of that mountain, the higher you climb, the more we all have in common, right?
Right.
So when you stand at the bottom, that all the paths look very distant from each other, but they come together at the top. Like Bruce Lee said, there is only one moon to be seen when you reach that summit.
That's awesome. I love that. So no, it's the same thing. We're like, we have one body. The way we move it is like inches, if not less, different in all these different styles. It's crazy to think like some of the strategies are different and everything like that, but they can so easily be implemented and moved around and manipulated to look like exactly the same thing. And I think that's kind of what we get after you start training for a while is like you find how your body moves, not necessarily how a specific style is trying to manipulate it to. Manipulate's a weird word, but yeah.
But like the arm only bends this way, right? I mean, we got two arms and two legs, right? Unless you're an alien or something. I mean, we're pretty much all limited or governed by the basic biomechanical principles of anatomy. Sure. And it's all about using our strengths and our weaknesses to basically tailor our martial art around ourselves. Now, your starting point is not as important as what you make it into. It's not what you do, but how you do it.
Yeah, you make it your mix. You make it work to the best of your abilities. Like that's another one of those things that once you get really knowledgeable about a specific subject, that giving somebody an exact thing. For example, with my teaching, if somebody's like, "Oh, what are you going to teach this week?" Personally, I don't know half the time. Because I mean, it totally varies on like what you're feeling, what you're thinking. I could walk into a classroom thinking like, I'll probably teach falls and rolls today. And then I'll walk in and like see one kid kick and I'm like, oh, that needs work. And then we just completely diverge.
That's funny because you know what? When I teach a class, if you ask me 5 minutes before the class what I'm going to teach, I never know.
Yeah, clueless.
My worst classes are the ones that I try to plan.
Mm. Yeah, because then you
I
try.
just it's not my natural, way of doing
No,
things.
I agree. I'm the same way where you like try and fit in a time schedule and you're like, okay, I have to assign 5 minutes to
Yeah,
helping Johnny
yeah,
fix whatever that was, and then I have to do this and I have to do that. Then you look up at the clock and you're like, oh wait, no, I spent too long on that and that was too short. And yeah, no, I agree.
But then my brother is the complete opposite. He has 5 post-it notes, each exercise, the reps, the sets, and everything. And he
Yeah,
goes teaching, his MMA class or grappling or whatever, and he will have it all planned out like a scientist.
yeah.
But I'm more like the artist, right? I follow my feeling. I see what people need to work on, and then I
Hmm.
spin off of that and come up with something else. And it's basically 2 hours of improvisation.
Yeah, sure. I like it. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Shotokan versus Goju Ryu in practicality. Because I feel like one of the things that Mr. Enkamp and I talk about is like how you shouldn't be going style versus style. If somebody asks me personally, like, Sensei Seth, what should I be training? I had this Muay Thai gym near me, and then I also have BJJ, and then I have this and I have that, and then I have karate. And obviously, the first thing I say is always karate, because if you have a good karate teacher, you learn a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm biased. But I feel like the answer should be like, what can you take away from Shotokan and Goju Ryu? My karate experience has been a very Americanized, like we practice Okinawan katas and Okinawan techniques. And I really do believe that this type of karate is like, I think you mentioned it one time. The theory makes sense that that it was when Americans were in the war, we were in Okinawa, and probably a bunch of people trained through a bunch of different styles, came back and was like, oh, here's what we did, here's what we did, here's what we
Yeah,
did. Cool.
yeah,
All right, let's take it back and claim that it's it's our thing.
yeah. And then let's add some bells and whistles to
Add some bells and whistles. Yep. 11th degree black belts, throw them in there.
it. Why not?
Why not? All right, let's see another
Restomp the
one here.
groin.
Yes, you have to make sure you restomp the groin. I'm thinking of taking another martial art to complement karate based on techniques, least using karate. That judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I really want to get into judo personally. We do a lot of takedowns in our karate style. I've had my journey. I'd love to know your answer on which style you think is most complementary to more of a traditional-ish, modern-ish style of karate.
Yeah, I think BJJ is good.
BJJ, I like it.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's a good. I would go with that. If you're more traditionally inclined, I would go with Aikido, for example.
Okay, nice.
But then if you want to reconnect with the roots, maybe Wing Chun would be better.
That'd be very cool.
I
I
mean,
like a lot
you
of
could
the.
go any way. I mean, either way,
Yeah.
whatever your goals are, basically.
Yeah, right. And what my answer usually is, Bud, usually recommend is that if you have styles in your area, like all of most martial arts programs right now offer like 2 free trial lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them offer them as like you try it once, you're going to love it. But ideally you do. But the best way for you to learn like what you really enjoy is to take those 2 classes, see how you fit in with the teacher, see how you enjoy the actual art itself. Because if you're somebody who's like super traditional and you really like the concept and values and roots of stuff, then you might not get along as well with a more modern martial art. So it really is give or take. And I think that the best way for us to answer you is to just tell you to try as much as you can.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
goal is to have a more complete set. Then I would argue something wrestling would probably be a good answer for you.
Well, I would say BJJ because then you get both, the ground stuff plus
Mhm.
the submissions plus more
Sure.
of the adhesiveness. This concept of going with the flow rather than just going and fighting fire with fire, which is a
Sure.
lot of modern karate, unfortunately.
Have you ever sparred someone with a different martial arts style? And I'm assuming he means like not like mixed martial art, but like opposite end of the spectrum, where they were like heavy into a different style.
Well, I mean, only the people at my dojo,
Sure.
because we have so many different martial arts.
Yeah.
And like every Friday, I used to have this sparring class where there would be people from Thai boxing, people from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu even, and we would just fight for like 2 hours. So
That's incredibly cool.
I mean, not people I didn't know, because obviously I knew who these people were,
Right.
but still they did different styles of martial arts.
Yeah, right. And you also don't want to just always constantly spar people you don't know, because then like the way you fight somebody in the beginning is not the same way you fight somebody when you're comfortable with your style.
Yeah.
Constantly hopping from spot to spot can get a little daunting. But yeah, to that point, I feel like that's a cool part that I love this kind of platform because not a lot of people would know that. Like, if I post something that's not me kicking bottles or me doing like a cool fancy trick, like obviously it doesn't get the same type of attention. But it's cool part about my training and stuff like that people don't really know about.
You're right.
And I feel like that's really important to put out there, is that, it's not simply karate for us. Like, yes, when you hear our names, also people very rarely call me Sensei Seth in real life. At this point, it's a brand thing. It's really cool. You don't have to call me Sensei Seth if you're an adult. Mostly just kids call me Sensei Seth, and some adults call me Sensei Seth, ironically. I mean, that's the thing. Like, whenever you go by stuff like that, you're like, oh, that's a karate guy. He also kick bottles. Like, that's it. And I think it's really cool that to be able to vocalize, the idea that it's not simply just karate, where karate is like a really cool base, and you do branch out and stuff like that.
This is actually a bit that was not from our conversation on live. I asked him for some bit of guidance regarding what I want to do and how I want to pursue this whole karate dream. Because, I mean, to be honest, he's one of the guys who gave me the blueprint on how to do all this, whether or not he knew that. It really resonated with me, and it's something that I wanted to share with you guys, because it doesn't necessarily just have to do with making videos or pursuing content creation or teaching or anything like that. It's kind of just an overall piece of information that I think would help a lot of people. So here it is.
Also, there's always like, should you do what people want to see, or should you do what you want to do?
Yeah.
And those are not always the same thing, right?
Right.
Because if you do what people want to see, somehow I feel like it's usually of something more surface level, like basic stuff, something.
Yeah.
But that would be so boring for me to do, because I'm not a beginner anymore, right? I would prefer to look at something more advanced, like some kind of Okinawan karate principle or something that can be applied to anybody, not just beginners. Yeah. So I think just a good point to keep in mind is to have a balance of what people want to see and what you want to do, and kind of mix them both. Because if you only do what people ask for, then you're not going to be fulfilled either, because you will have your own ideas, and you don't always know if they're going to be popular, but you got to do them sometimes. Yeah. Even though you don't know if they might work, because those might actually be the ones that go viral. Because like Henry Ford said, if you only gave people what they wanted, they would just have faster horses, not cars.
That's a great point. Belts and the belt system for you. What does the belt system mean for you?
Nothing.
Do you still use the belt system?
Of your own school, it means nothing.
Sure.
It is a way for you to categorize your